IT infrastructure, for example, or, for example, their HR teams, or their legal teams, or whatever it is. And the reality is, they still invest shyly, despite all of these facts and figures that have been shared with these top, if you want, management and investors. So, moving on to phase 3, which you guys all know as basically a phase of sustainability and creating shared value. I want to basically flip this upside down and kind of ask the question is, what would you do if you actually had zero money to invest in CSR? Okay, so, and that's what a CFO would love to hear. He'd like to say, okay, you know what? You actually have no money to invest today in CSR. What would you go out and do? All right? And then you'd really be thinking about what your business strategy is. Okay? You'd be thinking about what is it that's very important to my business, and regardless if I had money or a department or whatnot, that I would go out and do responsibly. So I'll tell you a little bit, and there are pioneers in this. Okay, there are pioneers that have integrated a lot of things into their business. So if you look at Unilever here on the top, it says their 10 years plan. The first thing that they write is to double the size of the business, okay? And then they write some of their CSR goals or their create shared value goals. But other companies are not pioneers in this area. And by the way, I wanted to talk about others. Nestle say good food, good life. So it's not a separated business hat and a CSR hat. Walmart say money, live better, and GE, imagination at work. These are pioneers in their industries. But not all companies are pioneers, not all CEOs and CFOs think that way. The reality is the number one purpose that CEOs think their companies are formed for is basically to generate profit. Okay, that's the number one thing people think about. They also ask this question to the millennial generation, and the millennial generation says, you know what, companies are there, the purpose of a business is for societal development. So the question is really, can we have profitable societal development? And I'm going to go through basically an example of Setco and what we do. And I'm basically asking the question that I asked earlier on is, what would we do if we actually had zero money? Okay. This is a comparison between the Saudi stock market and the Dow Jones Industrial Average over 4 years at this specific week. There is a huge difference between what the Saudi market has performed, whether we look at it over a year, whether we look at it over 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. The gap is extremely wide. And we are an investor in Saudi Arabia. So we invest in a lot of different companies, in a lot of different industries. We have hotel companies, we have real estate development companies, we have an auto leasing company, etc. And we've done deals, lately. But the number one challenge that the CFO and the CEO and the Chief Investment Officer have is that they actually say that there is no pipeline of good investments. Okay, so if there is no pipeline of good investments, how are we ever going to survive? Okay. Now, if I ask myself, okay, so there's no pipeline of good investment, how can I combine my strategy, my CSR strategy, with the business strategy? I have to solve their problem, okay? And their problem is there's no good investments. So locally, if there's a pipeline of future successful good investments, basically I've solved one of their problems. If there's a healthy economy, I've solved one of their problems. And we decided basically, in order to do that, both locally and globally, we need to focus on a few things. One is we need to have a real pipeline of students that are coming out that are financially literate, okay? That know how to manage money, know how to invest money, how to basically, in the future, manage whether they're in a business or whether they're entrepreneurs, they have to be good with money. We also found out that corporate governance is an area where a lot of companies lack, and whether they go into the second generation, they really fall apart, and the third generation, the company completely collapses. And that's why we have a very slim stock market in Saudi Arabia. So we said, that's something that we need to focus on, which is corporate governance. And lastly, skill-based volunteering is something that we also thought was very important for us, because the more we're out in the community, the more people would trust our brand and come back and buy from our products and services. And I'll share with you some examples on that. We've started a financial literacy program. It's called Reali, and what we do is we go out to 3 different segments. The first segment is kids 4th to 6th graders. The second segment is college students, and the third is basically young and budding entrepreneurs. And all of this is something that today, if a CFO or CEO asks me, why are we doing this? I can strongly relate it to what their business goals are. If you want a future stream of businesses to invest in, you actually have to invest in kids at a very young age and teach them financial literacy. This was a big problem that we faced when we went to schools, universities. We realized that they have huge needs. We studied these and we developed the program. And we realized this is why they're not actually developing a lot of entrepreneurs in the country. Today, the SME industry contributes about 20% to the GDP of Saudi Arabia, where developed economies it contributes to around 90%. So we have a future problem that we, as an investor, have to basically start solving. And by the way, I mean, I put numbers here, but impact is very important for us. And what is the impact that we're actually creating? We can go into details later on. We're very proud to say that we just recently signed an agreement with the Ministry of Education to actually educate 2 million students. This is a 6-year-old program, and this only happened 3 months ago. We continuously basically try to build that relationship, show the impact that we have on kids, and how that basically impacts the future economy. And the Ministry of Education, who, if you go talk to, it's almost impossible for them to actually take a curriculum and put it in their schools. So after 6 years of investing behind this program, showing the results and the impact we have, we got the Ministry of Education to sign on and basically train 2 million students by 2020. We also recently just launched the financial literacy program for young and budding entrepreneurs. And in Saudi Arabia, again, this is a completely new authority. There's a new SME authority that came out. We're about to sign an agreement with them, basically to help advance our curriculum amongst accelerators and incubators across the kingdom. These are just some pictures of students that we go out and we train in public and private colleges and universities. We actually focus a lot on the public schooling system. And then lastly that I wanted to talk about is really the volunteering program. We used to ask all of our employees to go out and volunteer only to teach financial literacy. And that was about 3-4 years ago. And to be honest, that doesn't work. Okay, you can't just pick a cause and say that's it, go and focus on these volunteers. We created a program whereby we go out to NGOs. We realize what these NGOs actually might need in terms of support across their different functions. So you need legal support, well, we have a legal team. Well, you need finance support, we have a finance team. You have a risk need, we have that. So we went and created these partnerships with all of these NGOs, and we basically transformed all of our volunteering from one-minded, which is just financial literacy, to what does the community really need, the NGO society, and we developed an NGO program around that. And we have dashboards basically to share across the organization to tell them, listen, you're doing a good job, or your department is not doing that great a job, or let's celebrate the success of this and that person. So these are some of the things that we share on a regular basis with the teams across the departments. So this is on a monthly basis, you'll see the number of hours that each department may have volunteered, sent across the entire organization, so that there's basically internal competition amongst the different departments. And these are some of the NGOs that we support, and it's really one-to-one. Historically, what we've done is we've actually gone out and we've done things like, cleaning, visiting orphans. All of these things are great, but when you come to skill-based volunteering, really this is where you can have the maximum amount of impact. And I wanted to share some of these. And corporate governance, like I said, is another area where we've shared a lot of our experience with SMEs and family businesses. This is our CEO, but also you'll find on the top is our legal counsel, our head of risk, and our CFO. And you start seeing that they're actually, without a CSR budget, they're actually going out and doing these things on their own without necessarily having money or budgets. We talked about responsible investing. We've signed on, we're the first company to sign the principles of responsible investing, Setco Capital. And this is my concluding slide. I did a presentation about 2.5 years ago, and the topic of that presentation was basically how do you elevate the importance of CSR in your organization. Okay? And it wasn't about business, it was just about how do you take CSR and make sure that it's very, very important in your organizations. And I listed these, kinds of things on the left side, and I went back and I said, okay, what has changed in 2.5 years? If I'm also thinking about phases and I'm thinking about now integrating CSR with business, I think I wrote clarity on goals and alignment from the top. Two different things. I think now it's not about clarity of goals only, it's about aligning your business goals with responsibility goals. And usually you find CSR talking one language and business talking a completely different language when that's not really what should happen. Second thing is integrate your CSR values with your business values and embed it within the organization through strong corporate governance. Similar. Lastly, stay connected and keep your people informed on how CSR is driving your business results. I think that's what a lot of people are really failing to do. They're talking about their CSR results and their impact to society and on the environment, but they've never said, you know what, the story of that one student that we actually went and taught financial literacy to in university, he actually went and worked, got a great job. 3 years later, he actually, succeeded. An angel investor came in, and today he's the guy that we're actually investing in, and he's the one that's actually giving us profit. So you need to kind of be able to link that story between your CSR and your business. So with that, I conclude. Thank you very much.
Shukran. Thank you very much. Please